Broadcasting from the Big Peach of Atlanta, Georgia. A show unfiltered, unscripted, raw. The Patriot Angle Podcast.
Alrighty, guys, welcome. Guys, we got a guest here joining Dr. Kaci Chamone. If I'm pronouncing your last name correctly, I hope I am.
It's my middle name.
Kaci. How are you doing?
It sounds like how Michael Jackson says Chamone.
Chamone, okay.
I'm well.
Kaci, you got a tremendous story. I actually have been watching a couple of episodes from previous shows you've been on, where you got into your story, through life journey and everything. Do you want to care to kind of explain that on my show? Because I'm telling you right now, Kaci, you got a tremendous story, tremendous. And I'd love to have my listeners pretty much piggyback off and catch up to that story.
No problem. I would love to share. I am from Dayton, Ohio. I come from a commissary. I joined the Army when I was 17, after my mom tried to kill me. And
oh, wow.
The experience of that, of my mom trying to kill me, made me feel like I had something to live for. And it kind of bolted me out into the world because I ended up being homeless, which led to me joining the Army. And it's so funny because when I first was getting ready to join the Army, I actually just played on the recruiting station's phone for about 4 or 5 weeks. And then I got the courage. And then that sent me to, I was in basic training, of course, in South Carolina. Then after I went there, I was in Virginia for a little while. And that led me to Korea. And I was in South Korea for a year before I went to Kansas. And then from Kansas, I went to Iraq. I was in Iraq for about 4 months. I had knee surgery before Iraq. So I kind of came off of my profile so that I could go to war with my friends. And I don't regret it. So I was there for 4 months before I came back and ended up getting out of the military and moved here to Atlanta. Since living in Atlanta, I used to be a member of a church for about 6 years. During that time, I took minister training classes and things in that nature. But I got my degree in applied management with the emphasis of psychology. I started that in Phoenix. The church that I belonged to, it was here in Atlanta. Then we moved to Phoenix to help a new branch of it, a satellite church. And I started school at the University of Phoenix and its subsidiaries. And from there, I ended up getting my degree from Grand Canyon. After that, it kind of got married. I had children, got divorced. Pretty happy about that because it was like a stifling type of marriage. It was very, it was complex because I am a determined, strong person. I've always been on my own. And when I got married, I never really wanted to get a divorce, but we weren't on the same wavelength. So when it was time for me to start helping people when we were married, he used to question me because I had PTSD. So that became kind of an overshadow of our relationship. And he used to use it against me like it was a tool or a weapon. So I ended up getting divorced and I moved back here to Atlanta. I love Atlanta. It's the best place on earth. And once I got back here in Atlanta, I began developing my book, Spiritual Human Behavior. At the time, it was called the 11 Theories because I couldn't figure out the name initially. And that book turned into I believe it's 9-hour audiobook. And it took me about 10 years to actually complete it. And then I also wrote some more books. So I have a series of books
Wow.
that's about
Yeah, that's
spirituality, outside of religion, in addition to the book that I wrote when I first get out the military.
yeah, that's pretty fascinating. I mean, you and I pretty much reside in the same backyard, so to speak, in Atlanta. I'm pretty much in northwestern Atlanta, over near Atlantic Station, which is very
Okay.
close to Midtown. Actually, other
Hmm,
side of
hmm.
the expressway, pretty much, right?
Right.
Um,
I'm
so
down
that's
close to the
interesting stuff.
airport.
Oh wow, okay, so South Atlanta, okay. Um,
Hmm.
I'm reading here, with your show, the it's my time, right? Is that currently the show? I know it was launched in
Oh
right
no,
around what,
no,
2006. Do I have
that
that
is
wrong?
my first
Oh,
book.
that's your first book. Okay. Do you want to
Yes.
basically explain to us a little bit about your show? How you got into the whole podcasting industry?
Well, I started podcasting in 2010, and that podcast was I think it was still Speaking Freedom Radio, but on that podcast, my
Yeah.
name was my KC or something. I'm not sure. I think it was a play on words because of my last name. And I started when I stopped going to
So you kind
church.
of went
Well,
through a
right.
couple names to get your base in, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, when I was in
Yeah.
church, I
Yeah.
always talked about wanting to be Dr. Casey one day. So that was my overall goal. But when I started, I was just trying to understand about myself, about religion, and the world that I existed in. But my first initial shows was really, I think, mostly about religion and kind of breaking away from a lot of those type of strongholds. So when I first started, it was on Blog Talk Radio. Oh my gosh, you know how old that was. And it
Oh
was
yeah.
off and on. We moved a lot, and that kind of made it difficult. So I really wasn't able to keep up with it after the first probably about first 4 or 5 shows. And then after that,
Yeah.
I took breaks off and on, and then recently, last year is when I really start putting out Speaking Freedom TV content because I spent from the beginning of the pandemic up until now, even I record video. So if I hear something, I just I press record on my phone and I just do a video. It's not never I have probably 2 videos that actually feature me, but the goal is not for the attention to be on me. The goal is for the attention to be on the content. So,
Pretty much. I mean, you see, yeah, but Casey, you see, like, you're pretty much like, you see an idea, you're gonna go for it, pretty much, right? I mean,
I have to, and because well, it depends. I have
yeah,
a lot of ideas. So when I first started this era of Speaking Freedom TV and Speaking Freedom Radio, it really was me writing on Instagram a lot initially, and I would just talk about different stuff that interests me. Or if I was learning something, I would share what I was learning. I would put all my research up, and I would have a lot of ideals. But I have like movie ideals. I have song ideals. I have a lot of different ideals that I can't use. So back in 2013, 2014, and 2015, I really would just have just well my little cousin calls it word vomit. So I would have ideal vomits where I would just put all of these ideals out there, and some of them actually came to fruition. So I do have a lot of ideals, but I realize that just because an ideal is good doesn't mean it's for me. Sometimes that ideal may be something for somebody else and maybe a seed for me to plant so that, we can have, more of what we need in the world as far as content goes, anyways.
oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you always have to, push yourself to high limits in life. Um, you see an idea, shoot for the stars. Like if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You go to the next idea, the next agenda, the next uh, funnel cloud, I call it, in your head, and work off that narrative and continue building it. Because eventually, Casey, you're going to build your brand, you're going to build your material, and it's going to get to you. It's going to get to a point where you want it to be. It might not work out the first time, the second time, the third time, but that's life. Sometimes it doesn't work out for us until like we're in our 50s and 60s, and
I
hey,
feel like it's working. Right now I have gotten up to like I'm actually shooting for an end of the month goal of 600,000 views. I am at 591 or so right now. So I think that it's beginning to pay off, and I am doing a lot of things that before I actually start putting out this content, it was like I was hoarding it. I just kept it and I was keeping it and I was
okay.
keeping it. And then I just said, you know what? It's time to just do it because in the midst of a lot of people passing away, for whatever reason they've passed away recently, it made me feel like I wanted to make sure that I put what I was meant to give into the world. Because if I'm holding on to it, I know people that got thousands of songs, they have all this stuff that they don't never
Yeah.
release. It doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
Andre 3000, he probably got millions of songs he recorded, but nobody knows because he doesn't release it. So if he doesn't release it,
Well,
it's
you
kind
release
of
it
like
off at a
it doesn't
certain time,
exist.
you release it off at the certain time, the precise time when you're ready. When you're ready to release it, you just release it to the world. I
Sometimes
think that's
though,
the best
fear will
approach.
make you feel like you can't be ready. Fear will stifle you. Especially if you have anxiety of any kind, it'll stifle you and make you feel like, well,
Yeah.
I don't know, is it ready? Is it ready? So sometimes you even have to push past whether you feel ready or not, because it's always an excuse you can use.
I could tell you, I could tell you the same, Casey. A lot of people ask me the same question. Like, do you consider yourself a podcast host, or you consider yourself a content creator? Out of that question, very, very highly. I'm like, you know what? I really consider myself a content creator because I'm constantly publishing material towards like social media, Instagram and Facebook, and now we have True Social, and all the TikTok, and so much
It's
platforms.
so much more
So I
than
really
just
consider myself a
hosting
content
the
creator. Yeah,
podcast. Hosting the
exactly. Yeah,
podcast is
because
like the bare minimum of what it really takes to own and operate a podcast, especially if you're trying to do streaming. If you're going to, I mean, YouTube is one thing, but then you got Vimeo, you have Roku apps. You can do so many
so
things
much
with
avenues
content.
out there. Yeah, yeah. There's so much avenues out there. Explore your material and build that brand. Because I could tell you years ago when we started this thing here, me and two other friends that helped me with this. I mean, the imagery, the graphics, everything. We weren't there. We started off on a little company called Anchor.fm, and we still use Anchor.fm to broadcast our
I use
audio.
Anchor. Mm-hmm.
To let it pretty much launched throughout the digital world, and Spotify, now Amazon Music and Audible and Amazon Alexa. It's like you see that, you're like, wow, you actually can see your brand and your material grow like literally every single day. And it's amazing. It really is.
The
30 years ago,
growing
we never
process
even
is the
had
best.
this. What's that?
The growing process is the best because the watching yourself grow and develop and strategically change things as it evolves, and it's I think that's the best part. I help a lot of people um overcome success. And I say overcome success because success in general can be very overwhelming. And the growing process of success and balancing whatever your lifestyle is, whoever's in your household, and all of those things, it can take you by storm. So I always like to see a person. I the one of my favorite come up stories is Cardi B. Now, people have a way of feeling about her political views and the things that she's into. But if you look at who she was when
Yeah,
she
I heard a
started,
little bit
where
of that
she's
on
all
your
messed up,
previous episodes of shows you've been on. Yeah.
when you look at her with her messed up teeth and her real, the coming from the street to where she is now, growing into
Yeah.
motherhood and family and movies and TV, to see somebody's rise and see them develop and grow into their fullness is a blessing to me.
Isn't she originally from Atlanta? I mean, she's originally from here, right? Atlanta?
No. Cardi B is originally from New York. Now Sierra is from Atlanta. But
Okay.
Cardi B
I
is
always get them
originally from New York.
confused. Yeah. 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 Because if you could hear my accent, I'm originally from the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And I've
Okay.
been living in Atlanta for about going on 4 years now. So, it's like home, but without the big giant skyscrapers, the five boroughs.
So
That's
do you like it?
what I miss. I miss the culture. I like it down here. Like I said, it resembles a little bit of New York. I'm mainly South Atlanta, like over near, you know, uh, Garnett and stuff over there. That area
Okay.
resembles a little bit of Bronx and Brooklyn. But yeah, I mean, I like Atlanta. It's not home though. I can tell you that. But yeah.
Of course.
So I want to get into a little bit of your with my show. I'm a little different from most podcasters out there. I like to know everything about everything. Sometimes I go to the present, or sometimes I go to the past. I do that on purpose to basically understand that person that I'm talking to, because each person is different. You learn a little bit differently from their past. Maybe you learn differently from their future. Their future might explain them a lot clearer than their past, or their past, you know what I mean? Vice versa.
Hmm.
So I want to go back to your military days, right? You're a former Army vet.
Yes.
You want to get into that, or
What is it that you would like to
yeah, the
know?
floor is.
So military for me, it was I think
I
one of the best decisions that I've made. But if you have any specific questions, let me know.
Yeah, I wanted to get into some of your early days of the military. Maybe boot camp training. How was that? I hear a lot of stories about that constantly. With the boot camp.
So
Was it rough on you?
for me, boot camp was it was interesting. It was definitely challenging because I wasn't used to that type of activity on such a consistent basis, the road marches and things like that. But it was great. It was I was coming from a situation where I was technically homeless. So getting into the army and going to boot camp, it was like an adventure. It was a journey. It was again one of the best experiences that I've ever had in my life, because it set me on a path to greatness. So I went to the army and I wanted to get disciplined. When I went to the army, I wanted to just get some structure in my life more than what I had at the time. So I literally enjoyed basic training. I mean, we had days where we would have to be in the push up position for hours sometimes, just because somebody did something wrong on rocks. But to me, it built my character, it built me as a person, my strength, my endurance, and all of those other areas in ways that nothing else could have done. Now, listen, a lot of times we hear people talk about or the mindset of what boot camp is this rough, tough, and people are all in your face. But what I experienced is that a lot of times those drill sergeants were the nicest people on in the whole unit, because they know how to deal with people, but they would be tough on you. And I love that I could see their not so tough side, because I would be like, you was just laughing and stuff, so I know you ain't really mad. So I love basic training. AIT was a great experience also. There is nothing that I would really complain about in my military experience specifically. I had 2 knee surgeries when I was in the Army. I had, I had a great time. Even when I was in, the only thing that I would complain about, if there was anything to complain about, is when I was in Iraq. My leadership made it a little bit more tougher for me. I think it was a shock that I volunteered to go to Iraq. They thought that I was a sham artist. They thought that I was just, trying to just coast on through. So when I took the lead in that area, it shocked them. And then once we got there, and it
Oh
was
wow.
almost like they was picking on me. It was like, I told them
Yeah.
one time in Kuwait, I was telling them in one of the trainings that my cousin who had just came back from Iraq and was at my going away party told me that if you get ambushed, how to get around the ambush. If they blow up one vehicle, leave the other people out of the way, out of harm's way, because it's a setup.
Oh,
So when I was
oh
saying that in
sure.
the meeting, when I said it in the meeting, they panicked. They went and told the commander. I mean, they wanted to give me an Article 15 because they felt like I had said something wrong. And then when it came back, they was like, well, she said what she was supposed to say. Like that was exactly what she was supposed to do. So
Yeah, yeah.
from there, it was almost like they had a chip on their shoulder for me. I
But
ran the
do you think it
warehouse.
made you stronger though? I mean, as a person, as an
I,
individual.
I think that it definitely made me tougher. I don't know if it made me stronger. It made me
I meant
tougher. It gave me
stronger
a tougher.
from when you first went in, right? I mean,
I mean,
obviously.
yeah. Well, no, it strengthened me, but it toughened me too. And the strength and the toughness is two kind of different
Yeah.
variations, because the inner strength that was built from the discipline and the hard work and the, for you don't know, but when I was on my final road march, it was a 15-kilometer road march. That means like about 5 miles or so. I missed our bathroom break, and instead of whimpering out or anything else, I peed on myself and I marched all the way to the end. But it made me
Wow.
feel prideful. It made me feel so good about what I had accomplished, because I didn't let anything stop me. I didn't cowered out. I didn't, quit. I made it through regardless. And, I think that a lot of people probably at the time was laughing and joking and all of that.
Oh yeah.
But I
Yeah,
didn't feel shame about it.
yeah. I mean, sometimes today in the media, like they make it, you know, such a, a different world. You hear different stories of, sometimes people, they criticize the media and this, now we're going through a society of just being woke. And I mean, everything is it's just out of control, I think.
We're definitely in an
Yeah.
interesting stage of life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Hopefully sometimes I just like to take the switch and just go boop, and hopefully it goes back to normal.
I don't know
But
if we've ever
okay.
known a normal.
I think we were normal at one time, but I think a lot of it is to be blamed on modern technology. Where
Mhm,
they condition our minds, a little bit, and uh, we've become conditioned. We've become
mm,
pretty much programmed, into
mhm.
thinking that the norm today is actually a healthy society. When in all reality, it's not. We're literally killing ourselves, through technology, through uh, just everything. You know, it's I look at our
I agree.
society today. Yeah, I look at our society today where I always have a wondering thought that races through my mindset, thinking that you know how much how, not only are how much more can this world take, through the hate, the hatred, the divideness, the fear mongering. How much more can we take? Because
Well,
you got to
that
wonder, like,
literally is
there's got to be a breaking point.
Right. That's one of the reasons why I began really putting out Speaking Freedom TV's content, because my whole motive, my whole undertone of everything that I do is wrapped around love and truth. So the problem
Yeah.
is that a lot of people do not like the truth. And it seems
Right.
as though a lot of people also despise love, or
Yeah.
they've been with conditioning and trauma. A lot of people don't know how to give love or receive love, not authentically, because they've never received or been given love, so it is greatest challenges for me is just trying to get people to love, I want to say themselves, because a lot of people don't love themselves. They've been conditioned to question themselves, to belittle themselves, to look at all the bad things and not honor what's good within.
I think it has to do with a lot how they were, how they grew up.
Mhm.
What type of style or environment they were around. A lot of people want to blame it, on social media and technology. Yeah, that could be blamed a lot on that. But I mean, there was technology, in my time. I mean, I'm 40 years old, and we had technology in the 80s and early 90s. But did we have of what they have today? Absolutely not. There was no such thing as
No, but
Bluetooth or
we had enough to where it would have had an influence on us if
an
technology was
impact, a
just
strong
that
impact. Yeah,
way.
yeah. But I mean,
Because we definitely had very crazy stuff going on in our times. I think the difference, I don't want to say the problem, the difference is that it's visible more so now than ever before. Like back then, you could hear about stuff, or the whispers about things, but now everything is captured on video, and it's weird because we don't know if people are doing things to be captured on video, or they're doing things and then it just happens to be captured on video, because a lot of things is
yeah, I mean,
engineered.
a lot of that could
um
be, yeah, a lot of that could be looked as, as spite. Like people do
mhm.
these heinous things just to to be, to do it as spite. But I understand what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. Um, we live in a very deranged society, so to speak. But
It's just that because we have so many different perspectives, so many different environmental settings that have raised us all, so many conflicting views, so much it's so many taboo topics that you can't really talk about, or you can't talk about too much. So many secrets and hidden, just we are in a place where I think for a very long time, um, our society has just, instead of addressing things and confronting things, a lot of things are swept up under the rug, it's put to the back, we're not going to talk about it. And then it's gotten us to a point now we don't know how to deal with anything because nothing was ever discussed. And even when I think about it, just made me think about when finances, as young children, we were always told you couldn't really know what was going on, with the
oh
adults'
yeah,
finances or whatever. And now people are wondering why people struggle with finances and can't keep their finances together, because when they needed to learn it, when they needed to get some ideas about how it works, nobody would talk to them. So it's kind of
and
like but it's so
yeah,
much. It's almost like driving here. You get people
oh,
from
absolutely.
everywhere trying to drive, and nobody is driving the same because everybody learned something different. I mean, the grand scheme is the same,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
the complexity of it varies.
Do you, yeah, do you find that hard? With your business practices. I mean, you are a life counselor. You also do different forms of counseling. Do you find that difficult now with the society that we are in? Especially you touched on something very, very important. You have to watch what you say now in society. Do you find that you know a little
It's an
difficult?
interesting place to be because um, you're teaching people to harbor feelings, and a
Right.
lot of people do that regularly. But that's why we have so many people that lie and fudge the truth, because people, especially religious people, they grow up in households. Well, if you tell the truth and they don't like the truth, then you're gonna get in trouble. So instead of getting in trouble for telling the truth, then I'm gonna just tell you what you want to hear. And then it's a lot of people with that yes man effect, just getting told what they want to hear just because somebody doesn't want to get in trouble or get fussed at. So nobody's real truth or opinion and nothing can get better because everybody is just kind of coaxing along, going along to get along, kind of, well, I didn't want to hurt their feelings, but sometimes people's feelings need to be hurt. And not in a bad way, not in a spiteful, bitter, like I'm trying to hurt your soul way, but to hurt the surface level feelings to address the deeper level issues.
Yeah, it's almost like the patient is almost fact checking their counselor. I mean,
and there's nothing wrong with that unless you get a person that's questioning because of their own stuff instead of question like if you talk about anything, I would like for you to look up and research anything you hear me talk about online, anything that you see me say on any of the videos, because everything that I'm saying is researchable. It's not like, and a lot of people can't say that. It's a lot of people that will sell you a gimmick. It is a lot of people that that they took a class and now they're going to give you a class 2 weeks after they just finished that class, and they don't know shit from that. They don't know anything from that class because
you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, I was gonna say, I actually pay a disclaimer to Spotify where I'm allowed to say that, so it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, people see unfiltered, they think it's just a gimmick, but it's actually, that's why I have unfiltered on there, because I like to express myself, and I don't always curse on my show. When I'm talking to somebody, I'm looking at their body demeanor, so I will respect their body demeanor. So if you see me not cussing like I normally cuss on my show, I'm not being fake. I'm just being respected to that person. So, you bring up a point here. I wanted to bring up something with you because we've reached a society point right now, Dr. Kaci, with fact checking. Okay, and what is your perspective on fact checking? Do you think it should be introduced to social media? Do you think it invades somebody's privacy of free speech on what to say?
See, now, because whose facts? There is a several sets of facts to almost every situation. So when I look at social media and whether it's Instagram or Facebook, and they do those little, this is false because they said it was false. It's not really false. Y'all just don't like the information that is being.
It's opinion. It's opinion-based opinion. That's what it is.
Yeah,
it's somebody's opinion that they don't like. Yeah, I was about to say that, but I wanted to see your viewpoint on it. I see fact checking more as opinion-based than actual facts, because nothing could be labeled an actual fact. There's so many different backgrounds to that argument. That's why we live in a country that's based off of opinion. It's not based off of fact. I think that's what society's trying to bring us to, a society based on actual facts.
The only way we could be factual is if we really go through history and look at the things that can be proven as happened, like boom, 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 boom. The things that have been duly noted and jotted down. The things that can be cross-referenced and researched. That's when I think about facts, I think about cross-referencing and research, because anything that I tell you, if I tell you, one of my things that I like to make sure that everybody know is when it comes to religion, Christ is a title, not a name. Now, in order for me to tell you that Christ is a title, not a name, I would want you to go fact check that. That means go look up the word Christ by definition and see what it says. And then as you go down to the bottom of like the way my phone works, it'll give you the word, the definition, and it'll tell you the origin of the word, how it got to where it is. That's the facts,
Oh, sure.
But then even with that, when you look at, if you look at today's Webster dictionary and see what it says for American, it's going to be a whole lot different than what the original Noah Webster dictionary that's like this big. It tells you a different version of what American is, or the foundation of what an American is. So truth is subjectional. Facts are like, it can, you can get back to a foundational conclusion of that. But again, even when you think about reading books and all of that, aside from the tombs in Egypt, I think everything else is probably opinionated, because
It is opinionated, yeah.
it's somebody's perspective of the information that they receive. Because if you could tell me something, it's like the telephone game, or one of those games where you could tell three people the same thing, and depending on the person, the mindset, their environment, what they know, they might take the same exact statement three different ways and project it to somebody else totally different. So it's weird.
This is astounding. Like 30 years ago, we never had this conversation. Where it's grown so extreme now with this crap. With fact checking and you're saying false information about COVID and this and that. I'm like,
listen, this whole COVID thing is a whole different thing, because the thing with COVID is when you have somebody like Dr. Fauci, who has stated that vaccines aren't good, like not me saying that he said it, but like videos of it coming out of his mouth that say vaccines are not good. The best vaccine is to get exposure to it, heal from it, and then you'll be. But if you post that right now, even though it came out of his mouth, they're gonna tell you that's totally false information, because now they want the
because they have to protect.
Different.
Yeah, they have to protect him, because he's. Don't get me started with Dr. Fraud there, but it's the same crap, the same crap, I mean, if we haven't learned anything from this same idiot from the 80s with the HIV AIDS epidemic, I mean, he had everybody brainwashed. He put fear amongst men and women in the 80s. I mean, there were people, Dr. Casey, that they couldn't even go to bars and nightclubs in the 80s because they thought they were going to contract AIDS or something like that.
And that's the problem. It's a lot of fear mongering, like you said earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I think I heard this on Dr. Savage there, Michael Savage of the Savage Nation cast there out in California, saying at one point that they were closing the bathhouses in San Francisco, because people were afraid to go to massage parlors. They were going to get some kind of aid. I mean, it's all fear. It's just one big propaganda set by the mainstream media to impose that over somebody. It's a prop game. It's the media right now is probably looked at as probably the fourth branch of the government. Literally.
Really, honestly, yes. It's so crazy, because I wonder how the rest of the world sees us. Like, what are their opinions? I mean, I recently, within the last 4 or 5 months, seen a one of those, how they used to have those African videos where they would have the kids on there and like, hey, send $3 to help the kid. They had one of those for America. There was one of those those commercials for America, like America is having this so terrible time, and if you could just donate. And I was like, oh my God, we're a third world country.
Well, I know we're damn near third world. I mean, we're losing freedoms and liberties every single day. I mean, look what COVID's done to us in the last almost 3 years. Damn near destroyed our sovereignty as a country.
I think that it was more about gaining control, or trying to measure the amount of control that it still had over the people. Because prior to that, it seemed as though, there wasn't a lot of governmental control over people. But then that whipped them right back into shape, because now we know, one, they'll panic if we tell them anything, it was a meme that said the reason why they don't tell us about aliens is because y'all gonna go do what y'all did and buy up everything and panic like crazy people.
Oh, sure,
Because
sure,
like
sure.
so
Yeah, I had the honor actually to talk to a CIA agent twice actually on my show. It's been on my show, and he was going to go into great detail with that, but obviously, information. But I mean, we kind of understand what really
mhm.
could be possibly in the bunkers there in Area 51. I think it has to be kept secret, to basically try to control our society here in our country, because if
Mhm.
anybody found out that there was little green men, there were grays and this and that, can you
That
imagine,
the
like,
world is
it would
more than
cause
what we've been
hysteria.
told. It would cause
Yeah, it would
hysteria,
cause
but
hysteria.
I think in some ways it may be freeing because now that everything that they're telling us is made up.
Sure, sure. Dr. Casey here. I got about a minute left here. I have to close it out here because I got to get ready for a 7:30 show. I have to be committed to another show. The floor is yours, ma'am. If you have any information that you might want viewers or listeners that will be listening to this on audio and also on Twitch and Rumble shortly after, how can they find you?
I am on Instagram at Speaking Freedom. I have actually two Instagrams, Speaking Freedom and Speaking Freedom TV. You can follow both of those. If you want to watch Speaking Freedom TV, you can go to speakingfreedomtv.org. And all the episodes, I have 11 seasons up. Season 12 will begin in July. And it is a lot of information about probably anything that you can think of or imagine. I just started my explicit adult lounge because I am a sex coach also. So I offer some more adult level content, but that is for subscription on Patreon. And that also Speaking Freedom Lounge. And just follow me if you would like. I have a lot of information. I have several books at edu-freedom.org/shop. And I have faith books and workbooks. I have a book about spiritual human behavior, which is really geared about helping you identify defense mechanisms, the root of those defense mechanisms, and how to heal so that you can tap into and develop your purpose. So that is everything that I have. I really just hope that you learn to love and accept yourself, that you take every experience that you've ever had and look for the lesson in it, because even the bad things can be a lesson, even if it's just to not do that same thing the exact way again. So I pray that you have peace, love, and prosperity in your life.
Amen. Amen to that. Thank you, Dr. Kaci Chamone. Did I say it right? I'm terrible with last names.
Shimon, you gotta do
Chamone.
it like
Okay,
Michael
so
Jackson.
Dr. Chamone. So
Yeah.
Dr. Kaci Chamone, thank you very much for joining us today, taking your time out of your busy schedule. And guys, you heard it. You can find her everywhere, basically. She just gave you a whole list of great avenues. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank you for having me.
Alrighty.